Welcome to Around the Ozarks, a public affairs program brought to you by your local Midwest Family Broadcasting station. Here's your host, Scott Meyer.
Good morning and welcome to this morning's edition of Around the Ozarks. I'm your host this morning, Scott Meyer. I'm the general manager here at Midwest Family Broadcasting. And this morning we're going back to an area that we were at a while ago, and that's I guess we could consider it somewhere inside of law enforcement. But I've got my guest today is Dan Peterson, and Dan is the elected prosecuting attorney.
That's right. Good
correct?
Morning.
For Greene County. Good morning to you. And Dan was good enough to come to our studios to speak with us today and tell us a little bit about what a prosecuting attorney does. I see, Dan, by the information I have in front of me, you've been doing this now for about 10 years, since 2010.
That's right. As elected prosecutor in April, though, I've been in the office 21 years.
Oh, you have? Mm-hmm. Okay. And as an elected official, that's a little different way to practice law. How does that differ from just being in a law practice for you?
Well, we're the largest law firm in the city of Springfield with 36 attorneys, including myself. And the main way it different from a law firm is the type of practice we have. I would compare it to like MASH versus a doctor's office.
How so?
When I was in private practice, you have lots of time to give to any one single case. Whereas in our world as prosecutors, we have lots of volume and a very fast pace at which we move. Okay.
Now, going back in time, I see that you're a graduate of Kickapoo High School, but you got out of Missouri and did your college work where?
That's right. I went to Oklahoma State on an ROTC scholarship and then decided to come back home to Mizzou for law school.
Okay. And the ROTC thing was to help out with paying the school loans, or because you always wanted to be part of the service?
A little bit of both. I grew up wanting to fly helicopters like my dad did, and then I got the glasses that you can't see on the radio. And so I decided to go a different route and become a judge advocate, and have served for over 20 years now.
Really? So your dad, you're a military brat?
That's right. I was born just close at Fort Leonard Wood and traveled around when my dad served 2 tours in Vietnam.
Oh, he did? Okay. Wow. As a helicopter pilot?
First tour as an infantry company commander, and then as a helicopter pilot.
He thought he quit getting his feet wet, huh?
Right.
What, I've had a chance to have the sheriff in from Christian County, and I've got to know Paul Williams a little bit, the police chief here in Springfield. But as a prosecuting attorney, and I'm a big fan of all books that are mystery books and certainly law books. I, a long time ago, thought about going into law myself. But give us an idea of your average day. I'm not sure people know exactly what that day consists of. Are you more a manager of these 30-some attorneys, or do you find yourself in the courtroom a lot? What does it look like?
Right. As the elected prosecutor, a huge component of my job is leading and mentoring the attorneys and staff in our office. While I will still handle personally cases like the Aaron Peterson shooting and some homicide cases, my time is more effectively spent leading and mentoring others. And so I spend most of my day with my door open, working with attorneys on issues that they have and getting ready for trial and how to handle certain cases.
I've been in the Springfield area now since February of this year, but I came from Detroit. And having lived in the Detroit area for 23 years, that's a pretty busy place in a lot of respects, as you can imagine. But my time here in Springfield, it seems like a pretty quiet community. Am I kidding myself there a little bit?
I don't think so. I think we're a remarkably safe community in general. We do have an issue with drugs in our community, as well as with property crime, are 2 of our largest problems. And those numbers are quite high for a community of our size. But overall, if you're not in a violent domestic relationship, in the drug trade, we're a remarkably safe community.
Okay. It seems like that. I mean, the news at night is pretty quiet, and except for a couple of high-profile things that I've seen in my short time here, it's been pretty quiet. That relationship is good with the local police?
That's one of the great benefits of this job. One of the things I love about my job is that we have an outstanding relationship with all of our law enforcement partners. Our primary partner is the Springfield Police Department. That's where we get the bulk of our cases, but the Sheriff's Office and the other municipalities as well.
Dan Peterson is my guest this morning here on Around the Ozarks. Dan is the head prosecuting attorney. Would it be considered head prosecutor or just prosecuting attorney?
Just
prosecuting attorney. Now, you went from private practice to running for office. Why?
Well, I worked for a couple of years in a large firm in St. Louis and then for another firm here. And I just didn't find that work satisfying. I made a lot of money, but it wasn't what I wanted to do in the end. The thing about being a prosecutor is it's unlike any other job. The standard is to do what's just and what's right. And you just don't find that many places. And that in and of itself is very rewarding.
Well, it sounds very rewarding, but these days it seems like a lot of people take cover when it's sound and just. I'm not sure that everybody feels the same way as you do. I see in your past you were an Eagle Scout. I mean, you've kind of been a straight and narrow guy for some time. Is that strictly because of your dad, or did your mom play a hand in that?
Oh, certainly my mom had a large role in that as well. I had the benefit of having great parents, growing up in a great community, going to great schools here in Springfield. And when you ask someone why they went into public service, it's hard to put into words. It's just something I've always been driven to do.
Do you run officially as a Republican or Democrat, or do you run as an independent?
I do. We have partisan elections for prosecuting attorneys, and I'm a Republican.
You're a Republican, okay. Any thoughts, any comments you want to make on the election that's about to happen? I didn't want to get too political here, but I thought maybe you might want to throw something out there.
No, not really. I'm glad I'm not running this cycle. I can say that. What a crazy political time it is.
Yeah, it is. It is a little crazy. And I guess what's most interesting is, or maybe a little disheartening, is the fact that we spend so little time on talking about the what ifs and what could be's, and more on the backstabbing and the hounding of people. That can't make you feel good when you see that.
No, it certainly doesn't. It seems to me we need to get back to the business of figuring out how we're going to run the country and how we're going to solve our problems, as opposed to how we can simply defeat the other guy.
Do you think in an age where many people's lives are run, and you're a young parent?
Yes.
I'm thinking. You're a young guy. You must be a young parent. My kids are grown, and they didn't grow up with cell phones, not like today. And I can't help but think a lot of people get so much of their information, good, bad, or indifferent, strictly from a cell phone, when you think about it. How difficult that must be as an elected official, especially one who wants to see things run right and not work off of little bits of information, whether it be Twitter or somebody self-prophesizing on their Facebook page.
That can be frustrating, but I myself have a Twitter account, and we try to send out press releases as often as we can, because the truth of the matter is the news outlets simply don't have the staff anymore to cover the courthouse like they would in the past. So we do our best, both through that Twitter as well as our press releases, to try to get information to the public about what's going on in the criminal justice system.
Okay. Dan Peterson's my guest, the elected prosecuting attorney here in Greene County. I would hope that sometimes you read.
I do. Unfortunately, not as often as I would like to.
Because you're a busy guy.
That's right.
But if you do read, are there any particular authors of? Do you stay in the criminal court, the criminal justice system when you read, or do you like to read other things?
I used to, but now I try to get out. I like to read American history in particular. I have read Eric Greitens' two most recent books. And then recently I also reread John Danforth's books about religion and politics.
Oh, okay. And what did you take away from that?
Well, looking at that, we can be so much more civil in the way we conduct ourselves and do business. And regardless of what party you're in, we all have to work together. Mm-hmm. We're all still American citizens. We're all still Missourians. And so we have to find some ways to find common ground.
Can we back up a little bit and talk about your military life?
Sure.
Because you have one. You're a lieutenant colonel.
That's right.
In the reserves?
In the Missouri National Guard.
Missouri National Guard, okay. And have you spent any time overseas?
A little bit of time. I've had two deployments. One was stateside with the Field Artillery Brigade in the Missouri National Guard to San Antonio. And then the second one to Kosovo with the Maneuver Enhancement Brigade.
Oh, is that right? Was that during the time that the trouble was in Kosovo, or has it been since?
It's been more recently. It was from 2004 to 2005, or I'm sorry, 2008 to 2009.
What's that like when you go from your everyday life, you're home with the wife and kids and doing that sort of thing and working with your staff attorneys, and all of a sudden you get that call that says you're going to be deployed, you're going to be gone for a while?
Well, it's one of the reasons I joined the Army. was to serve. And so it was a pleasure. It was a hardship being separated from our family, but it really makes you appreciate all those things we have at home, going somewhere like that where it really is very much a third world environment, decades different than our society.
So it's a real eye opener for you.
Sure.
Have you traveled back there as a tourist?
I have not, no.
Is that anything you want to do or no?
It might be interesting to do that, but right now, I'm focused on our girls and mainly watching soccer games for my entertainment.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Dan Peterson is my guest this morning on Around the Ozarks. Dan is the prosecuting attorney here in Greene County. I often ask our guests to relate a story that puts things in perspective for what you do, and more often than not, good stories as opposed to bad. Am I putting you on the spot by asking you to tell us a story about something that you've done as lead prosecutor, prosecuting attorney for the county, where you've actually seen change for the better, if it's fair to say?
There are a number of things, I think, that would qualify. Some have to do with individual cases I've handled. For example, when I was a relatively new prosecutor, I handled a child abuse case where a little boy was stomped by his mother's boyfriend for wetting the bed. It was a tragic case where, fortunately, a school nurse saved this little boy's life because she realized that there was something more going on with him. His spleen had been ruptured. She made that mandated hotline call, and that little boy's life was saved. When the jury came back with a guilty verdict, I went to his foster family, and we jumped on a trampoline together. And so that's a story where you make a difference in one person's life. Mm-hmm. The other great pleasure is working with the young attorneys. I work with the 35 other attorneys in our office, and watching them grow, watching them take on challenging cases and get victories in date rape type cases that many prosecutors' offices won't touch, or child abuse cases, or difficult homicide cases.
Mm-hmm. How do you shut it off? You've got two girls, you said?
Right. I have a freshman at Kickapoo and a sixth grader at Cherokee. When we come home, there's a lot of focus on going to soccer games and soccer practice and just focusing on family.
And your wife is from the area?
That's right. Jill was a prosecutor. She was a prosecutor for 15 years. And
what's that like around the dinner table?
Well, unfortunately, sometimes it does make it difficult to set those things aside. But now she's the Title IX coordinator at Missouri State. Okay.
So she was a prosecutor. You met while you were both obviously practicing law.
Right. We actually met in law school and were friends in law school, and it wasn't until much later when I came back to Springfield that we dated and got married. But yeah, she was a prosecutor for 15 years. We worked together on crimes against persons, crimes involving child abuse and that sort of thing.
Okay. You kind of smiled when you said you dated for a while and then got together. Was it a long courtship? Is that
No, not particularly long, but something I treasure.
But it worked out.
Right.
That's good. Religion's important to you?
We're members of the Episcopal Church, Christ Episcopal Church, a historic church down in Walnut. Don't always go as often as we should, but yes.
I guess it's what you carry in your heart for the most part. Many prosecutors find their way onto bigger and better things. Is Dan Peterson looking to become the next governor?
No, I'm not. This is one of the most rewarding jobs I could hope for, like I talked about. And I just want to keep doing the best job I can for our citizens here in Greene County.
So I didn't trap you with that one.
No.
Good. Well, that wasn't the intent. I want to thank my guest this morning, Dan Peterson. Obviously, it was a lot of fun getting to know you, and hopefully I'll get to know you even better over time on this side of a table,
Sure.
Certainly not against you. Dan's a prosecuting attorney here in Greene County. Your next election is
in 2 years.
In 2 years, right. Okay. Well, if we can be of any help, you let us know.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
We'll be back in just a minute. You're listening to Around the Ozarks on Midwest Family Broadcasting.
Ruck and Run returns Saturday, November 5th. You're invited to honor local veterans with us at the second annual Ruck and Run. This boot camp style walk run is a fun, motivating, yet challenging event for the whole family. Last year, our event donated $3,000 and 930 pounds of food for veteran organizations. So put on your backpack and boots, lace up those running shoes, and honor local veterans with us at the second annual Ruck and Run, Saturday, November 5th in Republic, Missouri. For more information, go to ruckandrun.com. That's rucknrun.com, and we'll see you by the fire pit.
And welcome back to the second half of Around the Ozarks. I'm your host, Scott Meyer. I'm the general manager here at the Midwest Family Broadcasting Group of radio stations. And I've got two guests in this second half of the show, both from the Springfield Little Theater. We've got Beth Doman, who's the executive director. Beth, good morning.
Good morning.
And Beth has brought, I don't know if it's either her better half or her needed half as the marketing director, but Lexi Sainer. Hi, Lexi.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Yes, you might recognize Lexi as the voice of Peter Pan on a commercial we did not long ago. It's funny. My first question is going to be a statement and a question. But the other day we were talking internally here. And someone, I had the good fortune of actually participating in a play years ago in high school of Mice and Men.
Really?
And knowing that the Little Theater is in production of that play now, one of our staff said something about the fact that I think it's about a guy who has a hard time with a mouse. And she was being serious, but I don't know, and help me understand if youth today are exposed as much as we were when I was younger. I won't put you two in there. Obviously, you're younger than I am, but these are classics, and I'm not sure that this person really understood how classic a play it is, and what the story's really all about.
Right?
Do you see that, or am I way out there?
No, I don't think you're out there too much. I mean, now they are still reading it in the high school classes and that kind of stuff. But as far as things that we grew up with, really knowing and understanding, like Diary of Anne Frank, they still read it. But I don't know that it has the impact that it did.
Can live theater help that? I mean, is that one of the reasons that you do a classic like of Mice and Men?
Absolutely, because it's this isn't a happy. This isn't an Eddie Murphy movie. This is meat. This is real meat, and it's very pertinent. It's quite tragic, actually. It's not. You're not going to like walk out of there going, "That was a fun night."
No.
I mean, but you're gonna go through every single emotion, and we've got an incredible. It is. It's a tragedy, and we've got an incredible cast of people, and Jamie Bauer, who does our lighting and our sound and one of our tech directors, he's directing it. Brilliant. And I'm very excited about it. And I think it's very important that we do classics and keep those alive. It's important to see that. I mean, this is John Steinbeck, so come and see it.
Yeah, right. But I was shocked, I guess. And that,
right.
I part of it you take it with a grain of salt, but it's just, it made me sad. Only because it is classic work, and there is a lot of depth and breadth to it, and I hope it does wear off on some folks, especially young people, that they get a chance to understand.
When we did Gypsy the last time, which is a beautiful musical about Gypsy Rose Lee, incredible music, incredible story, and it's built on fact, and those are the old war horses, and you're finding that it's beginning to change. So now shows that, like Rent, which would have been a rather current show, is now becoming an older show because it's been around longer. Yeah. It's kind of, the tides are changing a little bit. It's pretty interesting, actually.
Absolutely. I had the good fortune of living in New York for a while in my career, and being exposed to a lot of off-Broadway. Broadway stuff is one thing, but off-Broadway you get a chance to see real actors. And it was pretty exciting. So to have that kind of theater here in Springfield, I think is very exciting.
Me too.
And I'm not sure that, and one of the reasons we wanted to feature you on the show was to have that conversation a little bit about what we do have here in Springfield, and understand that not everything has to be jumping in a car and driving down to Branson to see someone perform again, even though that there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But, when you think about the kind of art that goes on in this town, whether it's portrait art or photographic art, the theater and the music. I've had a chance now to get to know the conductor pretty well at the symphony.
Oh, yeah.
And, for a city this size in this part of the country, I don't think people realize how lucky we are. And how many great musicians there are. He said they have about 10 deep every time they have an opening, which isn't often.
Right.
For that one opening. So
it's astounding.
It is astounding.
I was just saying at the Ozzy Awards that Springfield, it's a freaky vortex of talent. And it truly, truly is. People have absolutely no idea how lucky we are. We have a symphony, we have a ballet, we have an opera, and we're one of the top community theaters in the United States.
Well, that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal.
And we're in Springfield, Missouri.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unheard of.
Well, the good news sometimes is it is unheard of.
Right.
It's very special for us, and I like that part of it. Who's Beth Doman? Who are you? Where are you from?
Yeah, pick a thing. Well, we moved here when I was in second grade. My dad was a plastic surgeon here in town. Okay. So I grew up here, got started at the theater back in, 1978. I was a card. I was when I was just a mere embryo, and I was just a little teeny tiny baby child, just wandered through the doors, crawled, and my first show was Alice in Wonderland, and I was a card, and I got hooked. And then I was a stand-up comedian for years.
Oh, is that right?
I did.
So you traveled the country and did that?
I did. I traveled quite a bit. I went to Stevens College. Then I graduated and went down to Dallas, and I worked the circuit. And and then I came back here. I was headed to Chicago and ended up staying. Best thing I ever did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When was that? When did
I moved
you had a
back.
choice to either go to Chicago or come back to Springfield?
Yeah, and I moved back here in January 29th, 1990.
Okay.
I know the exact date. Not the exact time, but I do know the exact date.
It grows on you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Now, Lexi is of a different generation, right? She's much younger than either one of us.
Oh, yeah.
And Lexi, as the marketing director, why are you involved in Springfield's Little Theater?
Well, I love the theater. I'm just very passionate about everything they do there and the relationships that are built by doing these shows and all of the collaboration that goes into one show. I mean, there's so many different pieces and parts of arts that come together to make theater, and I'm just very inspired by that.
Are you from this area as well?
I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska, and when I was in high school, my parents retired to the area. And so I've just been doing theater here ever since.
Excellent.
Yes.
See, there is more here than flyover country, right?
There really is.
Yes,
It's amazing.
I was shocked. I mean, I fully intended to move away, but I just fell in love with what we have here. And it really is just amazing how many arts opportunities that there are in Springfield.
My guests this morning on Around the Ozarks are Beth Doman, who's the executive director of our Springfield Little Theater, and the head of marketing, Lexi Sainer. Beth, you've been involved now for a number of years with the theater.
Yeah.
Tell me about someone who's come to the theater, maybe done some things here, and has moved on. Has that occurred?
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh, yeah. Gosh, we've got one of my troopers is Apollo Robbins. He's the premier pickpocket of the world. In the world, we brought him back for a special event last year. Dana Powell, who is she plays Cam's sister on Modern Family, is in the Veep, was in Bridesmaids. She was one of our troopers. Lucas Graybill of all the High School Musicals and Switched at Birth, does a lot of voiceover work. He was one of my troopers.
So there's opportunities here for young people in Springfield, in school,
absolutely.
high school, college.
You bet.
To find their way on the stage?
Sure. We've got an education program that's just outstanding. And we have kids that are in our troops, and they start, we've got 7 troops now. They start in second grade, I believe. So we've got about 150 kids in the troops. And then you can audition for shows. It's a community theater, so we love to have new people come down and audition for shows. We're getting ready to audition 9 to 5. Beauty and the Beast Jr., Jesus Christ Superstar, Strawberry Freckleface, and then we end the season with the Addams Family. So there's opportunities from kids age 4 to however
Now, where can they find the theater?
We're at 311 East Walnut, and you can go to our website at springfieldlittletheater.org and check us out.
And the auditions are posted there, or the opportunities for auditions?
Yeah. And you just come down and audition, man. Come play with us. We have a good time.
It sounds like it.
Yeah,
it
we'll
really, truly does.
Yeah.
I think the stage misses probably your comedy act.
Well, I do shows every once in a while. You never know when
Do you
I'll
still
pop
keep
up.
your hands in it?
Oh, little dabble,
Yeah.
dabble here and there. Yeah.
Excellent.
I haven't done a full show in a while, but I'm feeling the need.
Now, currently, Of Mice and Men is playing. It'll play through
November 6th.
November 6th.
Am I right, Lexi?
That's correct. Yes, very good.
Excellent. All right.
They don't let me talk about dates too much.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, I just make things up.
I love to have storytellers tell good stories about something that maybe someone who had come to the theater and you didn't know, or they didn't think that they might have an opportunity to actually find their way on stage and maybe blossomed into more than anybody ever thought. Is that a fair question to ask? Is that something that's happened?
I think we've had that happen several times, actually. You get kids that they might take a class or whatever. One of my favorite stories was a gal that I grew up with. Her daughter came down and auditioned, and she was pretty shy, pretty shy little kid. We have a lot of kids that come in that are pretty shy. And they all of a sudden they just kind of, it takes them a little while. So anyway, Kelsey was doing a show for me, and she's pretty stoic kid. Never really smiled, just kind of did her thing. Well, opening night comes. And I mean, this kid lights up. She is smiling. She's dancing. She's singing. She's like Ethel Merman. She is giving it her all. She's like, what? And I'm like, Carrie, what is going on? Kelsey's like, come up to life. And she said, well, I told her I'd pay her if she did a good job. And I'm like, what is she, a little banker? I mean, she a banker and actor. You can't pay her to do a good job. Well, so they get in the car afterwards, and Kelsey's just like, her adrenaline, man, it's just going. She's just standing in the seat, just wah, screaming. And Carrie's like, what is going on? She's like, I had more fun than I've ever had in my life. And she kept coming back and doing shows for years and years and years. Changed her life. It really did.
That's got to be exciting for you.
It is when you find those kids and even adults, when people find their voice and their passion, and they realize it's okay to put on a costume and have some fun, man. Let loose. Be another person. Go do it. And to be able to step outside and break that shell open and realize that it's okay. It's okay. You don't have to hide. Wow. Come on out.
I appreciate you both taking the time to come in and tell us all about it. And obviously you're both very enthusiastic about it. With any luck, I'll see the show before it closes. I want to see Of Mice and Men. I want to see what this rendition looks like. Everyone is different, and I'm sure this one is different as well. Interpretation is 9/10 of the law.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But it sounds exciting, and I'm very excited myself just to even be part of it. So I can't wait.
Thank you so much for having us.
Let's give the folks one more time how they can best get a hold of you for either tickets or opportunities on stage.
Call 869-1334 for the box office, or go to
SpringfieldLittleTheater.org.
Thank you.
Okay. And we'll have that posted, obviously, on our Midwest Family website.
Wonderful.
So everybody can be aware of that, and we'll make sure that you get a chance to hear this if you're not up early in the morning.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you.
I want to thank everybody this morning who joined us and listening to Around the Ozarks. My name is Scott Meyer. I'm the general manager here at Midwest Family Broadcasting. If you'd like to hear the show one more time, if you came in late and didn't get a chance to hear our guests this morning, www.mwfmarketing.fm will give you that opportunity. Again, Beth Doman and Lexi Sainer, thank you both for being here so bright and early and bushy-tailed and all of that. And until next week, thanks for listening.
Thank you for joining us for Around the Ozarks, a public affairs program brought to you by your local Midwest Family Broadcasting Station. Listen again next Sunday morning at 6 a.m. Find this and all other segments of Around the Ozarks at mwfmarketing.fm.
It's that time of year again. Time for the 16th annual Wingapalooza, November 5th at the Springfield Expo Center. Brought to you by Springfield Sertoma. Sample wings from over 30 restaurants, bars, and other local businesses. Competitors will be slinging over 100,000 wings for everyone to sample. Listen to great local bands and vote for your favorite wings. Find tickets and more info at winga.net. It's going to be a clucking good time.